My name is Corey Walker, and I never thought a single night could completely rewrite my life. Especially not a night where I could barely remember my own name. At 27 years old, I thought I had my future figured out. I wasn't a billionaire. I wasn't some famous businessman whose face appeared on magazine covers. I was just a regular guy trying to build something for myself. I worked hard, kept my promises, and believed that if you treated people right, eventually life would reward you. That belief lasted until the day my biggest business project collapsed. I had spent 2 years building a startup with people I trusted. Then, 3 weeks before our biggest investor meeting, my business partner secretly sold our ideas to a competitor. The company didn't just fail. It disappeared overnight. My savings were gone. My confidence was destroyed. And the worst part was hearing people say, Corey was always too nice. He wasn't built for business. That sentence stayed in my head. So when my best friend Jake dragged me to a private party that Friday night, I didn't argue. You need to stop acting like your life ended, Jake told me while handing me a drink. I lost everything, I replied. You lost a company, not yourself. I laughed. Easy for you to say. Jake shook his head. No, I'm saying it because I know you. You're the guy who helps everyone else and forgets himself. I wanted to disagree, but I couldn't, because he was right. That was when I noticed her. Olivia Morgan. Everyone in the room knew who she was. The youngest CEO of Morgan International. The woman who had bought failing companies and turned them into billion-dollar businesses. The woman investors called the Ice Queen because nobody had ever seen her lose control. She walked into the room wearing a simple black dress, surrounded by executives who followed her like she owned the entire city. Maybe she did. I had seen her on business news before. Olivia Morgan, 30 years old. Cold. Brilliant. Impossible to impress. And completely out of my world. I looked away. The last thing I needed that night was to embarrass myself in front of someone like her. But somehow, she ended up standing beside me. You look like you're planning your escape. I turned around. She was looking directly at me. I smiled awkwardly. Is it that obvious? Yes. Her answer was immediate. I laughed. That's a little harsh. It's accurate. There was no emotion in her voice. Typical Olivia Morgan. I looked at my empty glass. Don't worry. I'm leaving soon. Why? I looked at her. Because everyone here belongs in a room like this. I don't. For the first time, something changed in her expression. Not much. Just a small movement. Like she actually heard me. You think success is about belonging? I shrugged. Isn't it? No. She took the glass from my hand and placed it on the table. Success is about making a decision before everyone else does. I smiled. That sounds exactly like something a CEO would say. And you sound exactly like someone who gave up too early. That annoyed me. I didn't even know her, and she was already judging me. You don't know anything about me. No. No. She looked at me for a few seconds. Then she said something strange. I know you returned a wallet to a man outside your office 6 months ago. I froze. What? I know you helped an elderly woman carry her groceries when you were late for a meeting. I stared at her. How do you know that? She didn't answer. Instead, she picked up a folder from the table nearby. You're Corey Walker. That's obvious. No. She opened the folder. It's not. Inside was my name. My information. My signature. I frowned. What is this? A contract. I laughed. Okay, that's weird. You need to sign it. I looked at her. Absolutely not. You haven't even read it. I don't sign random contracts from mysterious CEOs at parties. A small smile appeared on her face. It was the first time I had seen her look anything other than serious. Smart. Thank you. But tonight, you're going to. I laughed. No, I'm not. She leaned slightly closer. Corey. Something about the way she said my name made me stop. This is the one decision you won't regret. I should have walked away. I knew that. But I was exhausted. I was angry. And maybe I wanted to prove that I wasn't afraid. So I took the pen. Fine. Jake saw me from across the room and immediately walked over. What are you doing? Apparently changing my life. He looked at Olivia. Then back at me. Corey, are you drunk? A little. A little. He looked at the paper. Dude. What? I don't think this is a good idea. Olivia calmly took the document back. He can still refuse. I looked at her. Can I? Yes. Her answer surprised me. But if you sign, there is no going back. I should have stopped. I should have asked more questions. But the alcohol had already destroyed my common sense. I grabbed the pen, and I signed. The moment my signature touched the paper, Olivia looked at it carefully. Then she folded the document. Good. I frowned. That's it. That's it. What did I just agree to? She looked at me. For the first time, her expression softened. You'll find out tomorrow. I laughed. That sounds terrifying. It should. The next thing I remembered was waking up in an unfamiliar bedroom. My head was pounding. My phone had 23 missed calls. And there was a woman sitting across from me. Olivia Morgan. Perfectly dressed. Holding a cup of coffee. She looked completely calm. I sat up immediately. What happened? She smiled. A real smile. And somehow that was more terrifying than her serious expression. Good morning, Corey. Why am I here? She placed a folder on the table. The same folder from last night. My stomach dropped. Wait. She opened it. Then she said the words that changed my entire life. Congratulations. I stared at her. Congratulations for what? She tilted her head slightly. For becoming my husband. Silence. I thought I misheard her. What? She pushed the document toward me. You signed the marriage agreement. I grabbed the paper. My eyes moved across the page. My heart stopped. My signature was there. Everything was legal. Everything was real. I looked back at her. This is a joke. No. Olivia, this is insane. She calmly took another sip of coffee. You're right. I waited. Then she added. It is insane. Then why are you acting like this is normal? She looked directly at me. Because I don't make mistakes. I shook my head. I need an explanation. You will get one. When? She stood up. After breakfast. I stared at her. You're seriously telling me to eat breakfast after telling me I'm married? She smiled again. Corey. What? She walked toward the door. Relax. Then she looked back. There's something you should know. What? Her eyes met mine. There are no refunds. I froze. She continued. You signed. A pause. You're my husband now. And for the first time in my life. I had no idea what was going to happen next. I spent the first 10 minutes after Olivia left the room trying to convince myself that I was still drunk. That was the only explanation that made sense. Because the alternative was impossible. I had signed a marriage agreement with Olivia Morgan. The Olivia Morgan. The woman whose company was worth billions. The woman who had rejected countless wealthy businessmen, politicians, and heirs. And somehow, according to a piece of paper I signed while half-conscious, I was now her husband. I walked into the kitchen holding the document. Olivia was sitting at the table, reading emails on her tablet, like nothing unusual had happened. You're serious? She didn't look up. Yes. You actually expect me to believe we're married? Yes. I placed the document on the table. Olivia, I don't remember agreeing to this. She finally looked at me. That's because you were drunk. Exactly. And I stared at her. And you're okay with that? She put the tablet down. Corey, you were drunk, but you were not unconscious. That's your defense. No. She reached for the document. My defense is that you read every page before signing. I laughed. I was drunk. You still asked questions. I stopped. What questions? A small smile appeared on her face. You asked if I was forcing you. I frowned. And I told you no. She continued. You asked if this marriage would hurt my reputation. I didn't remember that. You asked if you would have the right to leave. My expression changed. And what did you say? She looked directly at me. I said you could leave any time. That surprised me. Then why are you acting like I'm trapped? I'm not. Then why did you say no refunds? For the first time, Olivia looked slightly amused. Because you looked like you were about to panic. I was panicking. I noticed. I crossed my arms. You think this is funny? No. Her voice became softer. I think you're scared. That annoyed me because she was right. I wasn't scared of her. I was scared of the situation. A normal guy like me didn't wake up married to someone like Olivia Morgan. There was always a reason. And I knew it. Why me? The question finally came out. Olivia didn't answer immediately. She looked away for a moment. That was the first time I saw uncertainty from her. I need this marriage. That doesn't answer my question. It does. No, it doesn't. She looked back at me. Corey, my family controls part of my company. I listened. They believe a woman like me cannot run an empire alone. I frowned. That's ridiculous. Yes. Her answer was cold. But they believe it. She explained that her father had built Morgan International decades ago. After he retired, several relatives began fighting for control. They wanted Olivia to marry someone from another powerful family. A strategic marriage. A business alliance. A deal. Not love. They gave me 3 months, she said. For what? To choose a husband. I almost laughed. So you picked me? Yes. Why? Again, that silence. I noticed she did that whenever the answer mattered. Because everyone around me wants something. She looked at me. You didn't. I didn't know what to say. She continued. When you met me last night, you didn't know who I was. I knew who you were. You knew my name. That's different. Yes. She nodded. You treated me like a person. I looked at her. That's your reason? It's one of them. There are more. Yes. I waited. But she didn't continue. Typical Olivia. Always keeping something hidden. I picked up my jacket. I need to think. She didn't stop me. That surprised me. I understand. I reached the door. Then she said, Corey. I turned. Don't disappear. The way she said it wasn't like a CEO giving an order. It sounded like a woman asking. I'm not disappearing. You always leave when things become difficult. That hit harder than I expected. Because it was true. After my company failed, I avoided everyone. I stopped answering messages. I convinced myself I was protecting people from my failure. How do you know that? Olivia looked at me. I researched you. That was not comforting. You researched me? Yes. That sounds creepy. It probably is. I almost smiled. Almost. You admit it? Yes. That was the strangest thing about Olivia. She never pretended to be perfect. She just accepted who she was. Before I left, she said one more thing. Tonight, there is a dinner with the board. I looked back. And they need to see us together. I sighed. Of course they do. Corey. What? She stepped closer. You don't have to pretend to be someone you're not. I looked at her. Then what am I supposed to do? Her answer came immediately. Be the same man who signed that paper. I frowned. You mean the drunk version of me? No. She smiled slightly. The honest version. That evening, I arrived at Morgan International's headquarters wearing the only suit I owned. It wasn't cheap, but it definitely wasn't something a billionaire CEO's husband would normally wear. The moment I walked in, I knew everyone was judging me. Whispers followed me. That's him. The husband. He looks ordinary. I ignored them. Until one man stepped in front of me. Daniel Morgan. Olivia's cousin. He looked me up and down. So you're Corey? Yes. He smiled. Not kindly. I expected someone different. I hear that a lot. You understand what kind of world you entered. I looked at him. No. He laughed. At least you're honest. Then he leaned closer. You should know something. What? People like Olivia don't marry people like you. I stayed silent. He continued. Eventually, she'll realize she made a mistake. Before I could answer, Olivia appeared. Daniel. Her voice changed the entire room. Everyone became quiet. Daniel stepped back. Olivia, I was just welcoming your husband. No. She walked beside me. You were insulting him. Nobody spoke. Daniel smiled. You're defending him? Olivia took my hand. And everyone froze. Yes. Her answer was simple. He is my husband. Daniel looked shocked. But, no. Olivia interrupted. You don't get to question my choice. The room went silent. Then she looked at everyone. I want everyone here to understand something. Her hand tightened around mine. Corey Walker is not an employee. He is not a temporary solution. He is not a business agreement. A pause. He is the person I chose. I looked at her. Because for some reason, I believed her. And that scared me more than the marriage itself. Because the biggest problem was no longer the contract. The biggest problem was that I was starting to wonder, what if Olivia Morgan wasn't pretending? What if the Ice Queen really chose me? I thought marrying Olivia Morgan would be the strangest thing that ever happened to me. I was wrong. The strangest thing was slowly realizing that the woman everyone feared was not the woman I saw when nobody else was around. The world knew Olivia Morgan as a ruthless CEO. Her employees said she could destroy a company with one sentence. Her competitors said she never showed weakness. The media called her the Ice Queen. But the woman who sat across from me every morning asking if I had eaten breakfast was completely different. And I didn't know what to do with that. The first week of our marriage was uncomfortable. Not because Olivia was difficult. Actually, it was the opposite. She was too considerate. That confused me. One morning, I walked into the kitchen and found coffee waiting for me. I looked at it. Then I looked at her. Did you make this? Olivia continued reading a report. Yes. I picked up the cup. You made coffee? Yes. For me. She finally looked up. Corey, there are only 2 people in this apartment. I smiled. Right. She frowned slightly. What? Nothing. You're laughing. I'm just surprised. Why? Because the woman who can negotiate billion-dollar deals is making coffee for me. She looked back at her tablet. I can do more than negotiate deals. That answer caught me off guard. I sat down. You know, everyone thinks you're terrifying. Good. Good. Yes. Why? She looked at me. Because people who fear me don't try to manipulate me. I nodded slowly. That made sense. Then she added, but you never feared me. I smiled. I probably should have. No. Her answer was immediate. Don't. Something about that word felt different. Not like an order. Like a request. A few days later, Olivia asked me to attend a company event. I almost refused. I don't belong there. She looked at me while adjusting her watch. You keep saying that. Because it's true. No. She walked toward me. You think your value comes from your job title. I didn't answer. Because maybe I did. After losing my company, I felt like I lost the thing that made me important. Olivia noticed. She always noticed. Corey. What? Do you know why I chose you? I sighed. Because I'm honest. No. I raised an eyebrow. No. She shook her head. Because when you failed, you still cared about other people. I didn't know what to say. She continued. Most people become cruel when they lose power. She looked at me. You became kinder. For some reason, that meant more than any compliment I had ever received. The company event was exactly what I expected. Everyone was watching. Everyone was judging. I stood beside Olivia while executives greeted her. Then one of the managers approached. Ms. Morgan. Olivia turned. Yes. The man glanced at me. I wanted to ask about your husband. The way he said husband made it sound like an accusation. What about him? Some employees are concerned. About what? He hesitated. About whether he has influence over company decisions. I immediately stepped back. I don't want anything to do with company decisions. The manager looked surprised. You don't? No. I looked at Olivia. I'm not here for money or power. The man smiled slightly. That's good to hear. But before he could leave, Olivia spoke. Wait. Everyone became quiet. She looked at him. Do you know why Corey is here? The manager shook his head. No. Because I asked him to be. She paused. And because he supports me. The manager nodded. Of course. But Olivia wasn't finished. You should also know something else. Her voice became colder. Anyone who questions my husband's intentions can question me directly. The room went silent. The manager immediately apologized. I understand. After he left, I looked at her. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. Why? Because they were judging you without knowing you. I smiled. You really hate unfairness. No. She looked at me. I hate seeing you treated unfairly. That stopped me. Because Olivia Morgan didn't say things like that casually. She meant them. That night, after everyone left, we sat in the car. For several minutes, neither of us spoke. Then Olivia said, You're uncomfortable. I looked at her. How do you always know? Because you become quiet. I laughed. You really studied me. Yes. That's still a little scary. I know. I looked out the window. Why are you so different with me? She was silent. Then she answered. Because you don't need me to be Olivia Morgan. I turned back. What? Everyone around me wants the CEO. She looked down. The powerful woman. The person who can solve their problems. But you. She stopped. What about me? She looked at me. You talk to me like I'm just Olivia. That was the first time I saw something I never expected. Loneliness. Not sadness. Not weakness. Just loneliness. The kind that comes from being surrounded by thousands of people, but feeling like nobody actually sees you. I wanted to say something, but I didn't know what. So I simply said, I think Olivia is pretty amazing. She looked at me. Not the CEO. Not the Ice Queen. Just Olivia. You do? Yes. Why? I smiled. Because she makes terrible coffee, but still tries. For a second, she looked shocked. Then, she laughed. Actually laughed. And I froze. Because I had never heard that sound before. The most feared woman in the business world was laughing because of my joke. You're making fun of me? A little. That's dangerous. Are you threatening me? No. She looked at me. I'm warning you. About what? Her lips curved slightly. That I might start liking it. My heart skipped. And suddenly, the marriage contract felt a little less like a mistake. But the next morning, everything changed. A photo of Olivia and me appeared online. The headline was everywhere. Billionaire CEO Olivia Morgan's secret husband revealed. Gold digger or real love? My phone exploded. Messages, calls, comments. Everyone had an opinion. And the worst part? The person who leaked it wasn't a stranger. It was someone inside Morgan International. Someone who wanted Olivia to lose control. When Olivia saw the news, her expression became cold again. The Ice Queen returned. She looked at the screen. Then she said one sentence. Someone wants a war. I looked at her. And what are you going to do? She turned toward me. But this time, she wasn't protecting the company. She was protecting me. I'm going to make sure they understand one thing. What? Her eyes became sharp. No one uses my husband as a weapon against me. And for the first time, I realized something terrifying. Being Olivia Morgan's husband didn't just change my life. It made me a target. The first thing I learned about being married to Olivia Morgan was that peace never lasted long. The second thing I learned was that enemies always showed their faces when they thought they had an advantage. The leaked photo spread everywhere. Within hours, everyone had an opinion about me. Some people called me lucky. Others called me a fraud. But the comment that bothered me the most was simple. He married a billionaire because he couldn't become one himself. I stared at that sentence for a long time. Because deep down, I was afraid someone would say it. Not because it was true. Because part of me wondered if it could become true. Olivia noticed. Of course she did. You've been looking at that comment for 5 minutes. I locked my phone. I'm fine. She raised an eyebrow. That's a lie. I sighed. Do you ever stop analyzing people? No. At least you're honest. Yes. I looked at her. Doesn't it bother you? What? All of this. I pointed at my phone. The rumors. The accusations. People saying I'm using you. Olivia didn't hesitate. No. I was surprised. Why? Because I know who you are. That answer was too simple. You've known me for what? 2 weeks. Long enough. That's impossible. No. She walked closer. Most people spend years showing who they really are. Some people reveal themselves in one moment. I looked at her. And I did that. Yes. When? She looked at me. When you thought nobody important was watching. I didn't understand. But before I could ask, her assistant interrupted. Ms. Morgan, the board meeting is ready. Olivia nodded. Then she looked at me. Come with me. I froze. Me? Yes. Why? Because this concerns you. The boardroom was filled with people who looked like they had been waiting for me to fail. The moment I walked in, conversation stopped. I sat beside Olivia. Her uncle, Richard Morgan, looked at me. So this is the man. Olivia's expression immediately changed. Choose your words carefully. Richard smiled. I'm simply observing. No. Olivia looked at him. You're judging. Nobody spoke. Richard leaned back. Olivia, you know this marriage creates questions. Questions from people who think they own my life. Questions from people who care about the company. No. Her voice became colder. Questions from people who want control. Richard smiled. You always assume the worst. And you always prove me right. I looked around the table. The tension was obvious. This wasn't just about me. This was a battle for Olivia's company. Richard placed a document on the table. We reviewed the marriage agreement. My stomach tightened. Agreement. The words suddenly felt heavier. What agreement? I asked. Everyone looked at me. Olivia became silent. That scared me. Olivia. Richard smiled. Your wife didn't tell you? I looked at her. What is he talking about? Olivia didn't answer immediately. And that was the first time since meeting her that I felt betrayed. Olivia. She finally spoke. Corey, we need to talk privately. No. Everyone looked at me. I continued. I want to know now. The room became quiet. Olivia looked at me for several seconds. Then she said, the marriage agreement has conditions. I felt my chest tighten. What conditions? If this marriage ends within 1 year. She paused. The company shares controlled by my father's trust will be transferred. I stared at her. What? Richard smiled. Now you understand. I looked at Olivia. You needed this marriage to keep control. Yes. And you didn't tell me? I was going to. When? She didn't answer. That was enough. I stood up. So I really am just part of a business plan. No. Her answer came immediately. But I was already hurt. Then what am I? Nobody spoke. I laughed quietly. Congratulations, Olivia. I looked around the room. You found the perfect solution. I turned to leave. Then Olivia stood. Corey. I stopped. Her voice wasn't cold anymore. It was different, almost desperate. Please. I turned around. I had never heard Olivia Morgan say that word. Not once. She looked at me. I should have told you. Yes. I made a mistake. That surprised everyone, including me, because Olivia Morgan never admitted mistakes. But I was still angry. You said you don't make mistakes. She looked down. I was wrong. Silence. A billionaire CEO admitting she was wrong in front of the entire board. Nobody moved. But it wasn't enough. Not yet. I left. That night, I packed my things. Not because I hated Olivia. That was the problem. Because I didn't. If I hated her, leaving would be easy. But I didn't know whether the woman who cared about me was real, or just part of a carefully calculated plan. As I put my clothes into a bag, Olivia appeared at the door. You're leaving? I didn't look at her. Yes. Where will you go? Somewhere I'm not someone's solution. That hurt her. I saw it. But she didn't argue. She just walked inside. I understand. I stopped packing. You do? Yes. That surprised me. I thought you would try to stop me. I want to. Then why aren't you? She looked at me. Because you deserve the choice I promised you. That sentence made me pause. Because she could have forced me. She had money, power, influence. But she didn't. She respected my choice. I never wanted to use you, she said. Then why hide the truth? Because I was afraid. I looked at her. Afraid? Yes. The words sounded strange coming from her. What were you afraid of? She took a breath. That if I told you everything. She looked at me. You would see me like everyone else sees me. I didn't answer. She continued. As a powerful woman who only knows how to make deals. Her voice became quieter. But with you, I wasn't that person. I looked away. Olivia. I know. She nodded. I know I damaged your trust. A pause. But I need you to know something. What? The marriage agreement was created because I needed protection from my family. She stepped closer. But choosing you. She looked directly at me. That was never business. My hand stopped moving. Because that was the first honest thing she had said all day. Maybe the first honest thing either of us had said. Then she added, if you still want to leave tomorrow. She swallowed. I won't stop you. I looked at her. The Ice Queen was standing in front of me. But she didn't look like a queen. She looked like someone waiting to be abandoned. And somehow, that was harder to handle than any business attack. Because for the first time, I realized something. Maybe Olivia Morgan wasn't afraid of losing her company. Maybe she was afraid of losing me. I didn't leave the next morning. I told myself it was because I needed answers. That was what I repeated in my head. I wasn't staying because I cared about Olivia. I wasn't staying because the way she looked at me the night before affected me. I was staying because I needed to understand the truth. At least, that was the excuse I gave myself. The reality was harder to admit. For the first time in a long time, someone was fighting for me. Not because of what I could provide. Not because of my money. Not because of my connections. Olivia Morgan, the most powerful woman I had ever met, was afraid I would walk away. And I didn't know what to do with that. The next morning, Olivia was already preparing for the biggest board meeting of the year. I walked into the kitchen and saw her reviewing documents. She looked exhausted. Not the tiredness of someone who had worked too many hours. The tiredness of someone carrying everything alone. She noticed me immediately. You're still here. I nodded. For now. Her expression changed slightly. Not happiness. Not relief. Something smaller. Something she tried to hide. Thank you. I sat across from her. Don't thank me yet. I know. You still need to explain everything. I will. She placed the documents down. After today. I frowned. Why after today? Because today is when my family tries to remove me. I stared at her. What? She looked at me. They're calling an emergency board vote. Because of us. Yes. I clenched my jaw. So they're using me. They're using the situation. I shook my head. I should leave. No. Her answer was immediate. I looked at her. No. No. Olivia. You leaving would give them exactly what they want. I was quiet. She continued. They want me to prove I made a mistake. And did you? She looked at me. No. The confidence in her voice surprised me. I made a mistake by hiding the truth. A pause. But I did not make a mistake by choosing you. That sentence stayed with me. The board meeting started at noon. Every major executive was there. Every member of the Morgan family was there. And everyone was waiting to see Olivia lose. Richard Morgan stood first. Olivia, this company has always been about stability. Olivia remained calm. You mean control? Richard ignored that. Your sudden marriage has created uncertainty. I looked around the room. Nobody defended her. Nobody except me. Richard continued. Investors are questioning your judgment. Olivia looked at him. Investors question every decision a leader makes. Yes. He smiled. But this one was personal. The room became silent. Then Richard looked at me. Corey Walker. My name sounded like an accusation. You barely know this company. That's true. Everyone looked surprised that I admitted it. Richard smiled. Yet you married its CEO. I looked at Olivia. Then back at him. Yes. And you expect us to believe there was no financial motivation? Before I could answer, Olivia spoke. Enough. Richard turned. Olivia. No. Her voice was powerful. You have spent this entire meeting talking about him like he isn't standing here. She stood. And I am tired of watching people underestimate him. Nobody moved. Olivia looked around the room. You want to know why I chose Corey? Richard smiled. Please explain. She didn't hesitate. Because when I met him, he didn't know my net worth. Silence. He didn't know my influence. She looked at me. He didn't know what I could give him. A pause. He only knew me. I felt everyone watching. Olivia continued. Every person in this room has asked me what I can do for them. Her voice became softer. Corey was the first person who asked if I was okay. Nobody spoke. Richard's expression changed slightly. But Olivia wasn't finished. You think he is my weakness. She stepped closer to me. He is the only person in my life who reminds me I am more than my company. The room was completely silent. Then Richard said, This is emotional. Olivia looked at him. Yes. Everyone froze. Because nobody expected that answer. Yes, it is emotional. She took my hand. And I'm not ashamed of that. My heart skipped. Because Olivia Morgan was not hiding. Not this time. She was choosing. Publicly. In front of everyone. Richard stared at our hands. You're willing to risk the company for him? Olivia answered immediately. No. She looked at him. I'm willing to protect the company from people who think love makes someone weak. After the meeting ended, everyone left. I stayed behind with Olivia. For several minutes, neither of us spoke. Finally, I said, You really did that. She looked at me. Did what? You defended me. Yes. In front of everyone. Yes. Why? She looked confused. Why are you asking? Because you could have lost everything. She smiled slightly. No. What? I could have lost the company. She looked at me. But I would have lost something more important if I let them destroy your dignity. I didn't know how to respond. Nobody had ever said something like that to me. Then she stepped closer. Corey. Yeah. I need to apologize. For what? For making you feel like you were a contract. I looked at her. She continued. You were never a condition. A pause. You were my choice. Those words hit harder than I expected. Because I realized something. I had spent my entire life trying to prove I was worth choosing. And Olivia Morgan had chosen me without asking what I could offer. That evening, something unexpected happened. Olivia came home later than usual. I noticed immediately. You're upset. She looked surprised. How did you know? You're quiet. She smiled. You learned. I smiled back. Maybe. She sat beside me. For a while, neither of us spoke. Then she said, I have a confession. That sounds dangerous. It is. I looked at her. What is it? She took a deep breath. When I first asked you to sign that agreement. Yes. I thought I was making a logical decision. I waited. But somewhere along the way, she looked at me. I stopped thinking like a CEO. My heart started beating faster. What do you mean? She looked away. I started thinking like a woman who didn't want to lose someone. For once, Olivia Morgan looked nervous. And somehow, that made me more nervous. Because I finally understood. The marriage started as a contract. But somewhere between the signatures, the arguments, and the moments nobody else saw, something changed. The biggest problem was no longer whether Olivia needed me. The real question was, did I still want to leave? And I already knew the answer scared me. Because I didn't. The hardest part about falling for Olivia Morgan was admitting it was happening. Because I had spent the first few weeks convincing myself that everything between us was temporary. A contract. A business arrangement. A strange mistake caused by a drunk night. That was easier to believe. Because if it was real, then I had a bigger problem. I had started caring about a woman who was impossible to reach. A woman who controlled billion-dollar decisions without hesitation but struggled to say what she truly felt. A woman who could face an entire boardroom without fear but looked nervous every time she told me something personal. And the worst part? I liked that side of her. I liked the Olivia nobody else knew. The one who secretly watched old comedy movies when she couldn't sleep. The one who pretended not to like desserts but always stole the last bite from my plate. The one who acted annoyed when I teased her but smiled when she thought I wasn't looking. The world saw an ice queen. I saw Olivia. And that was becoming dangerous. A week after the board meeting, Olivia asked me to attend a charity event with her. I expected another room full of wealthy people judging me. Instead, something unexpected happened. People respected me. Not everyone, but enough. Because after Olivia's speech at the board meeting, the story changed. The media stopped calling me a gold digger. Now they were asking, who was the man Olivia Morgan chose? I hated that headline, because I didn't feel like anyone special. But Olivia disagreed. You're wrong about yourself. I looked at her while we were getting ready. About what? You keep thinking you are ordinary. Are not? No. She fixed the cuff of my suit. You just haven't been around people who recognize your value. I looked at her. You really believe that? Yes. How? She looked surprised by the question. Because I pay attention. That answer stayed with me. Olivia didn't say things to make people feel better. If she said something, she believed it. At the charity event, I met someone from Olivia's past. Her name was Emily Carter. She had worked with Olivia years ago. The moment Emily saw me, she smiled. So you're Corey. I laughed. That seems to be everyone's first sentence. Emily smiled. Because everyone is curious. About what? She looked toward Olivia, who was speaking with investors nearby. About the man who changed her. I frowned. I didn't change her. Emily shook her head. You did. That's impossible. No. She looked at me seriously. Before you, Olivia trusted nobody. I stayed quiet. Emily continued. She believed every relationship was a negotiation. That sounds exhausting. It was. She looked at Olivia. Her father taught her that. I looked at Olivia. What happened? Emily hesitated. Then she said, Olivia's mother died when she was young. I didn't know that. After that, her father became obsessed with protecting the family empire. Emily lowered her voice. He taught Olivia that emotions were weaknesses. I understood. Suddenly, everything made sense. The cold personality. The control. The walls. She learned how to win, Emily said. But nobody taught her how to be loved. Those words hit me. Because I knew exactly what Olivia was fighting. Not business. Not competitors. Her own belief that she had to earn everything. That night, after we returned home, I found Olivia sitting alone. Not working. Not reading reports. Just sitting. That was unusual. Everything okay? She looked up. Yes. I smiled. You're lying. She almost smiled. You're becoming annoying. I learned from you. She looked down. I met Emily tonight. Her expression changed. She told you. Told me what? About my family. I nodded. A little. Olivia was quiet. Then she said, I hate when people feel sorry for me. I don't. She looked at me. No. No. Why? Because you're not someone who needs saving. That surprised her. You don't see me as broken? I shook my head. No. Then what do you see? I thought about it. Then answered honestly. I see someone who had to become strong because nobody else protected her. Olivia looked away. For several seconds, she said nothing. Then quietly, you really shouldn't say things like that. Why? Because I might believe you. I smiled. Maybe you should. The next morning, something happened that changed everything. I received a message from my old business partner. The one who betrayed me. Mark Davis. I stared at the name. I hadn't spoken to him since my company collapsed. The message was simple. We need to talk. I can explain everything. I almost deleted it. Then another message came. Your company didn't fail by accident. I froze. Because I had always believed Mark ruined my company because he wanted money. But what if there was more? I showed Olivia. Her expression immediately became serious. Do you trust him? No. Then don't meet him alone. I need answers. I know. She looked at me. And I'm coming with you. I shook my head. This is my problem. No. Her answer was firm. It's our problem. That sentence affected me more than I expected. Our problem. Not mine. Not hers. Ours. We met Mark at a quiet restaurant. The moment he saw Olivia, his face changed. You brought her. I looked at him. Yes. He laughed nervously. Of course you did. What does that mean? Mark looked at Olivia. You really chose him? Olivia's expression became cold. Yes. Why? She didn't hesitate. Because he is better than you. Mark looked shocked. I almost smiled. Olivia didn't even raise her voice. She didn't need to. Mark finally looked at me. Corey, I didn't betray you because I wanted your company. Then why? He took a deep breath. Because someone paid me. The table went silent. Who? Mark looked at Olivia. Someone who wanted her company. My expression changed. Olivia's eyes narrowed. Who? Mark hesitated. Then said the name. Daniel Morgan. Olivia froze. Her own cousin. The man who had attacked her from inside the company. The man who had questioned our marriage. The man who wanted her to lose everything. I looked at Olivia. She looked calm. Too calm. That was when I knew something. The war wasn't over. It had only started. And this time, they weren't attacking Olivia Morgan. They were attacking us. After hearing Daniel Morgan's name, I expected Olivia to explode. I expected anger. I expected revenge. I expected the Ice Queen everyone talked about. But she didn't. That was the thing about Olivia. The moments when she was the most dangerous were the moments when she was the calmest. She simply looked at Mark. How long? Mark swallowed. Almost a year. A year. I felt my hands tighten. You spent a year helping him destroy my company. Mark looked down. I didn't know what he was planning. I laughed. You expect me to believe that? No. His answer surprised me. I know I ruined your trust. I looked away. Because the truth was, I didn't know whether I wanted an apology. An apology couldn't give me back what I lost. The years. The money. The confidence. But then Olivia spoke. Why tell us now? Mark looked at her. Because I realized something. What? He doesn't hate you. I frowned. What? Mark looked at me. If I were you, I would want revenge. I didn't answer. Because maybe he was right. But when everything happened, revenge was never what I wanted. I just wanted to understand why someone I trusted destroyed my life. Mark continued. You lost everything, and you still helped people. He looked at Olivia. That's why she chose you. Olivia said nothing. But I saw her reaction. She heard him. On the way home, Olivia was unusually quiet. Finally, I asked, Are you okay? Yes. I smiled slightly. You're lying. She looked at me. You learned that from me too? Yes. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she said, I should have seen Daniel's plan earlier. That's not your fault. Yes, it is. I turned toward her. Olivia. No. Her voice was quiet. I built my entire life around seeing every possible threat. She looked out the window, and I failed to see the person standing closest to me. I understood that feeling, because I had felt the same way with Mark. You trusted someone. She nodded. And so did you. That was the first time she admitted we were similar. Both of us had been betrayed by people we believed in. Maybe that was why we understood each other. The next morning, Daniel made his move. The news broke before Olivia even reached her office. Morgan International CEO faces scandal over sudden marriage. But this time it was worse. They released private documents, including our marriage agreement. The headline was brutal. Billionaire CEO uses marriage contract to protect company. The internet exploded. People said Olivia bought a husband. People said I was a paid actor. People said everything between us was fake. I watched the comments silently. Because this time, I understood. They weren't attacking my reputation. They were attacking the one thing Olivia cared about. Her choice. When Olivia walked into the office, every employee was watching. She didn't slow down. She didn't hesitate. She walked straight to the conference room. I followed. Inside were the board members. Daniel was already there, smiling. Olivia. She looked at him. You leaked the agreement. Not a question. A fact. Daniel smiled. You should thank me. For what? For showing everyone the truth. Olivia looked at the documents. The truth. Yes. He pointed at me. He signed a contract because you needed him. The room was silent. Then Daniel looked at me. You really thought a woman like her would marry someone like you? I didn't answer. Because the old Corey might have believed him. The old Corey might have lowered his head. But I wasn't that person anymore. Not after everything. I stepped forward. You're right. Everyone looked at me. Daniel smiled. I knew you understood. No. I looked at him. You're right that she needed this marriage. Daniel's smile faded. But you're wrong about why. I looked at Olivia. She needed someone who wouldn't treat her like a company. Silence. She needed someone who saw her as a person. Daniel's expression changed. I continued. And that's something you never understood. Daniel laughed. You're defending her because she's rich. I shook my head. No. I looked around the room. I'm defending her because she chose me when I had nothing. Nobody spoke. Then I said the words I never expected to say in front of everyone. And now I'm choosing her. Olivia looked at me. I had never seen that expression before. She looked surprised, almost emotional, because she understood. I wasn't staying because of the contract. I wasn't staying because of money. I wasn't staying because I had nowhere else to go. I was staying because I wanted to. Daniel looked between us. This changes nothing. Olivia finally spoke. You're right. Everyone turned toward her. It changes nothing. She walked toward the board. Because this company was never yours to take. Daniel frowned. What? She placed a folder on the table. The investigation results. His expression changed. What is this? Proof. She looked at him. Fraud. Insider trading. Corporate sabotage. Daniel's face went pale. You planned this. No. Olivia smiled slightly. You made the mistake of thinking I only prepared one move. For the first time, Daniel looked afraid. The board members immediately turned against him. Everything changed in seconds. The man who thought he had won lost everything. After Daniel was removed, the office became quiet. Olivia and I stood alone. You didn't have to do that. I looked at her. Do what? Choose me publicly. I smiled. Yes, I did. Why? I thought about it. Then answered honestly. Because you did it first. She looked at me. When? At the board meeting. Her expression softened. You remembered. Of course I remembered. For a moment, the powerful CEO disappeared. The woman in front of me was just Olivia. Then she whispered. I was afraid. Of what? That you would leave after everything. I stepped closer. Olivia. Yes. I almost did. Her eyes lowered. But. I smiled. But I realized something. What? You're not the contract I signed. A pause. You're the person I chose. For the first time, Olivia Morgan looked completely speechless. And then, she smiled. Not the CEO smile. Not the public smile. A real one. A smile only I got to see. But there was still one thing left. The original contract. The one that started everything. And Olivia had one final surprise waiting for me. A month after Daniel Morgan's downfall, everything finally became quiet. Not completely quiet. Life with Olivia Morgan would probably never be completely quiet. But the kind of chaos that followed us everywhere was gone. The news stopped calling me a gold digger. The board stopped questioning Olivia's decisions. And Morgan International became stronger than ever. But something else changed too. Me. A few months ago, I thought losing my company meant losing my identity. I thought success was measured by money. By titles. By how many people knew your name. Then I met Olivia. And she showed me something different. Sometimes the person who believes in you when you have nothing is worth more than everything you thought you wanted. One evening, I came home and found Olivia sitting at the table. That alone was unusual, because Olivia Morgan was always working. But tonight, she wasn't looking at reports. She wasn't answering emails. She was holding a folder. I immediately recognized it. The same folder. The one that changed my entire life. I smiled. You're still keeping that? She looked up. Yes. Why? Because it's important. I sat across from her. It's the document that accidentally married us. She shook her head. No. I raised an eyebrow. No. She opened the folder. It's the document that gave me the courage to choose you. I looked at her. Olivia. She pushed the paper toward me. Read it. I already knew what it was. The marriage agreement. The same agreement I signed while drunk. The same agreement that started everything. I looked through the pages. Then I noticed something. A section I had never paid attention to. A handwritten note at the bottom. My handwriting. I frowned. What is this? Olivia smiled. You wrote that? I did. Yes. I read the sentence. I don't want someone who needs me. I want someone who chooses me. I stared at it. I didn't remember writing that. But those words felt familiar. Because that was exactly how I felt. Olivia watched me quietly. You asked me a question that night. What question? She looked down. You asked if I would still choose you if you had nothing. I swallowed. And what did you say? She smiled. I said yes. I looked at her. Did you mean it? She didn't hesitate. Yes. For the first time, I asked Olivia something I had been wondering for months. Why me? She smiled. You still ask that? Yes. She leaned back. Because you still don't understand. Understand what? That everyone else sees what you can become. She looked at me. I saw who you already were. I didn't speak. She continued. When I met you, you had lost everything. A pause. But you still treated people with kindness. She smiled. You still believed in doing the right thing. Her voice became softer. And you still thought you weren't enough. I looked away. Because she was right. I wanted to remind you. Remind me of what? That you were never worthless. A few weeks later, Olivia surprised me. Not with a business deal. Not with some expensive gift. Something much simpler. She took me back to the place where we first met. The party. The place where I signed my life away. I laughed when I realized where we were. You brought me here? Yes. Why? She looked at me. Because I wanted to fix one thing. What? She reached into her bag and pulled out a pen. I laughed. Seriously? Yes. Another contract? She smiled. No. She handed me a blank piece of paper. This time you choose. I looked at the paper. What is this? Our real agreement. I looked confused. She explained. No conditions. No business. No pressure. Just a promise. I looked at her. What promise? She took my hand. That we choose each other every day. For someone who was once called the Ice Queen, Olivia Morgan had become the most honest person I knew. 6 months later, we had a real wedding. Not a business arrangement. Not a contract. Not something created to protect an empire. A real wedding. My friends laughed when they heard the story. Jake was the loudest. I still can't believe you got married because you signed something while drunk. I laughed. Neither can I. He looked at Olivia. But somehow it worked. Olivia smiled. It was not the alcohol. Everyone looked at her. She continued. It was him. I looked at her. And for once, I didn't feel like the lucky one. Because I knew something. Olivia Morgan was a billionaire. She had power. Influence. Everything money could buy. But she chose me. And that meant more than anything. Years later, people still asked us about our story. They always asked the same question. Wasn't it strange getting married because of a contract? I always smiled. Because they had the wrong idea. The contract was never the important part. The signature was never the important part. The important part was what happened after. A woman who had spent her entire life building walls finally let someone in. And a man who thought he had lost everything finally found the one thing he never knew he needed. Her. One night, I teased Olivia while we looked through old documents. You know, technically, I could still argue that I was tricked into this marriage. She looked at me. Really? Yes. She smiled. After all these years? Yes. She took the old contract and placed it in front of me. Then she said the same words she said the morning after I woke up. No refunds. I laughed. You're still using that? Yes. Why? She leaned closer. Because you already agreed. I smiled. And if I change my mind? She looked at me. The same confident woman who once controlled billion-dollar companies. The same woman who faced entire boardrooms without fear. Then she whispered, You won't. And she was right. Because the truth was simple. I didn't regret the night I signed that paper. I didn't regret waking up as Olivia Morgan's husband. I didn't regret choosing her. Because sometimes the biggest mistakes don't destroy your life. Sometimes, they give you the life you never knew you wanted.